let me turn that on. We've got deal breaker, bad but manageable, not awful, really doesn't matter. Uh, Kind of a good thing, indefinite good thing as the tiers. And we're going to be looking at red flags today. Now, red flag is you can have it when, like, right when you meet someone, or you might be dating for a while. I mean, not like you start dating and then like something comes up. Sorry, I had to make sure it was all working. Uh, these are things that you can find out immediately or you find out over time. And recently, there's been a lot of talk about the ick, which is what I'm thinking of. Then also, I have a friend who I recently found out sometimes will wear polo shirts with basketball shorts, and I'm like, dude, you're a nice guy, and you don't like. To me, he doesn't have any red flags, but that wearing a polo shirt with basketball shorts out in public, that's not the kind of vibe that you want to be giving off. Okay. Smoking. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a personal tier list. I'm going to put smoking in bad but manageable. It's not the worst thing. It's not a deal breaker. I don't believe in smoking personally. I think that you should just not not do it. Thirst for anime women or men. It seems. It depends on the definition of thirst, right? Like you could jokingly talk about like low punny, or like I'm sure that my fiance and I would be like, which Joe Star would you like to be with the most? But if it's like actual tangible thirst, I don't know. I think I'm putting it there. Sex addict. It seems like it could be problematic. Would I call that a deal breaker? We'll see. We've got a long way to go to see if things are going to be a deal breaker. I'm going to put that in bad but manageable for now. It's probably going to move up. Hot chips and spicy food. Listen, if that's a deal breaker or a problem, uh, yeah, like, this shouldn't be a problem at all. I don't know if it fits into kind of a good thing or definite good thing, uh, because I like spicy food, but that doesn't mean that I force feed other people spicy food. I get spicy chips, like there's kind of an implicit part of the relationship. The ones that say ghost pepper are Anthony's, and then the ones that say truffle that make my mouth taste like ass for like 3 days are not mine. So I'm gonna say definite good thing. A fan of The Office. I'd say that that really doesn't matter. A fan of Friends, that doesn't matter. Those are pretty normie shows. For me, if you were a big fan of Friends in 2023, I'd call that a bit of a maybe a not awful. But if you're talking about just general people, we got to draw the line somewhere. If you're walking around in August 2023 still a fan of The Walking Dead, just like I love when Michonne pulls out her sword or something like that, like that show has been irrelevant and bad for forever. Is it still going? I don't know. I don't know. You're watching like Fear of the Walking Dead or something for fun. Netflix original Fanatic. I mean, so here's the thing. Netflix original fanatic. Are you following around Netflix originals? Not necessarily a problem. Are you a fanatic of like literally everything that they release? That actually might be a problem. Because Netflix is pretty ass. Oftentimes. Oftentimes. They're very good at making stuff like The Kissing Booth 123, a bunch of terrible dating shows, a bunch of terrible dating shows and love shows. Uh, I'm going to just say not a problem. That's not a terrible. I wouldn't call that a red flag. Attraction to serial killers. Just, I'm gonna put that as a deal breaker. Don't be attracted to girls who say bruh. I'm gonna say girls who say bruh really doesn't matter, and that matters less than being a fan of The Office. Okay, that's funny. Dream SMP fan. If we're talking about a girl who's a Dream SMP fan who's like my age, I'm putting that above smoking, brother. I'm not dating a Dream SMP fan, okay? Not now, not ever. There's no time for that. Pick me, boys or girls. What does that even mean? What is a pick me girl? A critique of women who seek the attention of men and always at the expense of other women. Ah, I see. I'm not like one of the other girls that hang out with the boys and talk with them at the That's I mean to me that's just kind of a bad person. I'm putting them in bad but manageable. In and out of relationships. For me personally, that's a deal breaker because if someone is in and out of relationships all the time, you know what's gonna happen to you? You know what's gonna happen to you? Uh, that's going at bottom of bad and manageable. Communication issues. You know what? I'm putting that in deal breaker. I'm gonna put sex. I'm moving sex addict up. Uh, yeah, I'm moving sex addict up. That's I don't like dealing with someone with an addiction is that has its own slew of problems and difficulties that'll arise from it. But communication issues in particular, you can't have a long-standing relationship on it. You're gonna have a miserable time. I'm bad at communicating myself. I know it seems like I'm good at communicating, but really I'm just talking to myself for what's probably going to be 90 minutes straight. Is that a sign of someone who's very good at communicating? I don't know. I don't think so. Comprehension issues. So comprehension issues. I mean, we've all got that a little bit, right? We've all got comprehension issues a bit. It could lead to humor. For me, as someone who I think I have communication issues myself, comprehension issues is automatically a deal breaker. Because if you have no idea what I'm saying, we're never going to get along. Because I tend to speak fast. I have ideas that connect to each other loosely. It's a disaster to communicate with me, I'm sure. And to try to comprehend what I'm saying, I gotta move that up. Only text you at night? Only text you at night. Uh, I mean, I work and my fiance works. We only get to talk at night, really. I'm putting that in not awful. I'm not really commenting on that anymore. Disrespects their own parents. It's hard, right? Because it's like info needed. Info needed. Putting it not awful. Don't want to think about it. Describes their exes as crazy. Ah! Listen. Who you date when you're young, high school, early college, is not necessarily reflective of who you are as a human after that point, right? You can date some people who you were just like, bro, what was I thinking? With her, was I going to turn her around or something? Yeah, she just went through like 5 dudes in 1 year before me, and I thought that was going to be perfectly fine. If we're talking, we go back to middle school. I think describes their exes as crazy does not matter, okay? And that really doesn't matter. Actually, no, I get to put that at the bottom. I don't think that like it's questionable. You definitely need the background of it, but just being like my ex is crazy, uh, it could be a red flag though. I suppose I'm thinking about my perspective and not the perspective of a woman dating a man. They cheated in the past? That's a no for me. Uh, Because I'm of the opinion where if you're gonna cheat, you break up with the person, and then you don't have that marring your own personal record. I know that it's different for other people, but similarly to being in and out of relationships, if you've cheated on someone in the past, I have a feeling that I'll be cheated on, and I don't want that as a subtext. Guilt tripping, fuck off. Hiding the relationship. I'm a good guy, man. I'm a good guy. I got a full-time job. I've got enough of a head on my shoulders to seem like I'm at least somewhat intelligent. If you can't, and it's not like I'm white, okay? Like it's not like I'm of a different color. And I don't. My clothes are normal-ish. I can get dressed up. I look normal. If you hide that, that's a deal breaker for me. Constantly making me feel dumb. I don't mind that. I'd say that really doesn't matter. Personally, I like being made to feel dumb when I deserve it, because I like to be smart. And if I'm being dumb, I want to know that I'm being dumb. Constantly makes me feel dumb. Oh, I'd fight back. And now it gets a little into the weeds, you know? Because if you start snapping at me, I'm definitely gonna crack one immediately back. And the question is, can they handle it? If they can handle me making them feel dumb in return, and then like we can like bond over that, I'd put it maybe even in kind of a good thing. But if it's just like someone just making me feel dumb and then I like defend myself and they're like fuck off, like I'll put that in not awful. Needs to be reassured frequently. Well, that's just life, brother. Have you ever been in a Have you ever been in a relationship with a human being? They always need to be reassured. Holds you to a double standard. Oh, so it's like someone who's hypocritical and isn't able to look inward. I'm gonna call them out every time that they do that. I'm putting that in bad but manageable, personally. But that does near deal breaker. At least a little bit for me. Energy drinks. Not awful. I don't just drink coffee or tea. Like or like G Fuel or something like that. Like even those are fine. If you're going around drinking Monster Energy drinks in 2023, it's like what the hell are you doing? Uh, Not if you're in a relationship with me. You see me going out for a run every day, drinking coffee. I'm always like, you want some coffee? You want some tea? I'll make it interesting. Oh, I'm going out to get coffee. You're getting off Monster Energy after a bit, right? You're paying $500,000 per can of garbage. Like, come on. Golf player, fan. I'm not going to say playing golf is kind of a good thing. If it were other sports, I would. But golf, that's an expensive hobby. It's a time-consuming hobby. And also, I don't give a shit. So, I'm going to put really doesn't matter. But it's not for me. A cheerleader. Some people might say that that's a questionable thing, or like they don't like the vibe of cheerleaders. But it's a team sport. It's very athletic. You have to be an athlete to be a cheerleader, and I don't know, there's a lot of good to be said about cheerleaders. I think that I'm even going to call it a sport. I think it's an underrated sport, not for viewing. I'm never going to watch it, but just from a respect standpoint. I'm putting that in kind of a good thing. Battle Royale games. Uh, I play. Probably gonna play some Fortnite with my fiance today, so I'm gonna put in that as a definite good thing. Play some Battle Royale games together. Xbox gamer, PlayStation gamer, PC gamer. Uh, Boop. All these. It's all just a bunch of game things. These are all this game stuff doesn't matter. Sports, video games. Yeah, what am I talking about? Battle Royale games. I was just putting there just to try to make a statement. Okay, if they like games, they don't like games. If someone that you're dating does or does not like games, it really doesn't matter. What does matter is how you play the games. Are you playing them all day with your friends? Are you avoiding your relationship to play them? That's questionable. Are you spending a ton of money on them? That could be questionable too. It's about how you play them and how it affects your relationship. Video games, it shouldn't really matter that much for your relationship at all, to be honest. Soccer player, fan. There's a very big difference here between a soccer player and a soccer fan. All these, there's a really big difference between them. Like, but especially soccer, a soccer fan versus soccer player. I think that if you got a problem, if you think that someone being a sports fan is a red flag, you gotta look inward, okay? Or if they're playing sports and you think that that's a red flag, you also have to look inward. Playing sports, someone who takes their cardiovascular health seriously, that is a definite good thing. That I would be willing to cancel out some of these if someone is like, I run frequently, and I keep to a balanced diet, and I make sure that I'm healthy. Like, okay, I could probably forgive you being me smoking, you being well in and out of relationships would make sense. Holding me to a double standard, you earned the right a little bit. You earned the right. Trust issues. Forgive me for saying this. That's dating someone with trust issues sounds really like it might be really frustrating. Um, if you're not doing anything wrong, and you have to help them through it. But I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker. And we're all just human beings at the end of the day. Isn't that not awful? War video games. It's a video game. It's like my boyfriend plays Call of Duty. Is that a bad thing? Doesn't understand simple pop culture references. Now we're talking about something that's problematic for me that might not be problematic for other people. Gulp. If I can't talk in references, and I'm always doing my damnedest not to, because I find whenever I look at my analytics, it tends to be people of a younger age, and of the references that I'd be making. So, I'm not saying that that's problematic for when I just talk about like Skibbity Toilet or something like that. But I'm not as well versed in the younger the youth. I don't watch too much anime or something like that. But doesn't understand simple pop culture references. That also means that when you're going out with them in public, like if I'm going to a trivia night, I'm identifying myself a little bit. People are going to be talking in references and making jokes and stuff like that. And if everything you're just like, huh, it's not that good. I've got a couple people in my life now who are like this too, who you try to make something that you consider to be common knowledge that you'd expect everyone to know, and they don't know it, and it really jostles the conversation a little bit. You're just like kind of confused about where to go. You never know what you can say, and like not like what you can't say, like what can you even say anymore, but like what you will say that will mean something to them. Like it becomes trickier. I'm gonna put that in not off. You can deal with it, right? It's not that big of a deal. Control it. Good luck. You can try. I'm gonna put that in not awful, because a lot of things, at least for me, once again, if you are a woman, and you're looking at this from your perspective, you don't exist. As far as I know, no women watch my channel unless I'm talking about Taylor Swift or A Court of Thorns and Roses. So, to my male audience, and I'm sorry if you are one, that hurt. To my male audience, controlling. It sounds bad, but I'm gonna do what I want in the end. But if my fiance is like, "Hey, we need the trash taken out and the dishes done," I'm gonna be like, "Yes, ma'am," and I'm gonna do them right away. Like it depends on what your definition of controlling is and stuff like that. I'd say not awful. And then if there's a point where they become very controlling, yeah, that's a big red flag, and then you get rid of them. So it's tricky. You need more information to have too much of a discussion on that. How far am I? Let's see. Very secretive. See some funny stuff. Very secretive. Very secretive. What are you so secretive about? Bad but manageable. Doesn't respect boundaries. That would piss me off. Doesn't respect boundaries, that's going in the deal breaker right there. The moment that you break boundaries with an introvert nerd like me, I'm like, I can't trust you anymore. I can't trust you anymore at all. Doesn't like when you're with friends. I'm not one of those guys who's like, I gotta have my time with the boys. But like, someone who wants you to dedicate your life to them is not the kind of person I want in my life. Constantly puts you down. Now this is different than constantly making you feel dumb. Making you feel dumb, I'm assuming it's when it's deserved. Because if it's not when it's deserved for me, I'm gonna completely eviscerate you, like just on the spot. I'm going to Dr. Manhattan, and you're gonna be done. But constantly putting me down, that's different, right? If you're in a relationship, you don't be in a relationship with someone who constantly puts you down. Just don't. You're better than that. won't try out your hobbies. Why not? Bad but manageable. Why won't you try out the hobbies? No motivation in life. See, this is where I'm glad that I am not a streamer with a gigantic Twitch chat. Because if you say negatively on people with no motivation in life, then it's just like, what, you have a problem with depression? Oh, I definitely don't. My problem with people with depression or something like that. But me personally, having motivation in life it's a trait that I definitely value. Wanting to do something, having a plan. Like, we're gonna be on this rock for a long time. And if your vision is that you're going to be playing Path of Exile until you fill up the skill tree, and then you'll figure it out after that, knowing that that's going to take however I haven't played Path of Exile, knowing that that's going to take forever, that does give me a little bit of pause. Yeah, I because I value motivation. I'm going to put this in bad but manageable. Extremely indecisive. That's not awful. That's frustrating. It would definitely be frustrating to be someone who's extremely indecisive. I can be indecisive myself, but it's not that bad. Car fanatic. Okay. I've watched a lot of Top Gear. A lot, like, I think from 2006 to near the end, I watched almost every episode. I've watched all, like, the Grand Tour. But I own a Honda Civic, and I love my Honda Civic. I don't want anything beyond that. I'm never gonna go to a car rally or whatever the hell they're called. I don't go to car museums, but I like my car stuff. And personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And in general, being a car fanatic, like, it's a hobby, and it's not the worst hobby. You get to learn about how people learn how engines work, how the mechanics of things work. You learn little details about histories of cars and brands, and you get to see, like, you could talk about the art of car design. It's like Pininfarina of Ferrari. I'd say that being a car fanatic, it's not. I wouldn't say it's kind of a good thing, because that might not be your thing. I'm just definitely gonna say it does not matter. Horror movies does not matter. iFunny user. That matters. You're using iFunny. I was on iFunny when I was like 14, and I'm 27. That's not awful. Okay, I've seen some normal people in my life, people who are not as plugged into the internet as me, using iFunny, and it is a meme aggregator, so I can respect it for that. But if you are using iFunny, I definitely question your taste in media overall. Twitter user. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on social media. This is as close as I get streaming on this. You can see I don't have any affiliate links or anything to anything else, because I don't give a shit. And nobody's going to watch this. Anyways, so what am I even doing here? I don't know. Twitter user, not that big of a deal. You get to learn some interesting stuff. You get plugged into the world. It depends on how you use it. I'm putting it in not really doesn't matter. But if you're like a heavy Twitter user, if you're one of the content aggregators, if you're getting into arguments on Twitter, that's an immediate red flag for me. As someone who's not on social media kind of gives me the ick. People who are still into it give me the ick. Has a very specific coffee order. The specific coffee order doesn't necessarily matter. I like oat milk. If you know how much sugar you want, ideally, and so on. But if you're going to Starbucks, you're getting the order and then you're returning it, or angrily returning it. That's different. That's a problem. So just having a specific coffee order is not that big of a deal. Like, I know, my fiance loves her London Fog. I know that's typically a name of a drink on a menu, but if it wasn't, it'd be a pretty specific coffee order. But that really doesn't matter. It's not about if you like a particular coffee order, it's about if you're caring about it. And that's not what this little thing says. DC fans, Marvel fans, doesn't matter. Harry Potter fan. I was tempted to put it into not awful. Like, the year's 2023 and you're doubling down on J.K. Rowling? Come on. Come on. Star Wars fan. Star Wars fan. Really doesn't matter. Lord of the Rings fan? I'd say if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, that's kind of a good thing. I think that Lord of the Rings fan, like Lord of the Rings, it's very male centric. I will acknowledge that, but it's good content. It's yeah, definitely good content. It's heady. It's a little cerebral. You can have a great time. I love watching the Lord of the Rings movies. If you don't love watching the Lord of the Rings movies, that's a red flag in and of itself. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you're not going to be telling me to watch Rings of Power because you'd know better. So I think that Lord of the Rings fan is kind of a good thing. Yeah, band kid. I'm gonna say being a band kid is a definite good thing. If you're in high school, maybe it's just like band kids are so weird, but we're not. I'm not in high school anymore. I'm 10 years out of high school, and people who are band kids, they were able to grow up out of it. But what it meant at the time was those MFers were driving to school like an hour early to practice with their band teacher. They're grinding on the freaking clarinet, which is like you're never gonna use that instrument ever. It's useless, but you're playing it every day. Like you're getting a life skill, learning, yeah, being a band kid. You're going to those band camps. You're doing all those silly things that band camps, like yeah, people who go to band camps do. I think you get some good life experiences. Honestly, I think that being a band kid's good. We'll see if it comes up later. Theater kid. My fiance was a theater kid growing up. Theater kids in middle school and high school kind of definitely could be a red flag. They're definitely weird, into themselves too much, a little like floating out there. But it gives you like those extracurricular activities when you're younger give you life experience that carries on through the older years. Favorite response is I don't care. Fuck off, then. You know, yeah, no, just fuck you. Overly quirky. That doesn't matter. Right? Doesn't matter to be overly quirky. Right? TikTok user, doesn't matter. If TikTok users were a problem, then always needs a new iPhone. You don't need a new iPhone. I am a finance guy. If you are stepping to me like I need the new iPhone, where did it go? That's not awful. If you're stepping to me saying I need the new iPhone, I'd be like, what for? And you'd be like, the better processing power. I'd be like, my ass. The better camera for what? If you're always needing a new iPhone, I guess that's indicative of potentially other problems. But I'm the kind of guy who I have a phone for 5 years. I recently upgraded from the original iPhone to an iPhone 4. That's what I'm streaming everything on. And that 4-year jump in smartphone technology was a massive improvement to my life. As you can see, I have the ability to stream now even. So I stream from my phone, of course. That's why this looks like a disaster. It sounds terrible. Let's types in all lowercase. I love that they type this in all lowercase. Isn't that just like a Zoomer vibe, right? That doesn't matter. I type with too much detail. I use like commas and hyphens and shit. Like if I be careful throwing the first stone if you live in a glass house. Makes TikToks. As I sit here streaming to YouTube, having made like 100 garbage YouTube shorts for no reason, I think that there's a demon inside of you if you make TikToks and shorts. It's a little demon. It's. I'm putting it in doesn't matter, but we can have a discussion on this, right? We can have a discussion on if making TikToks, if TikToks that matters, because if you're going out in public, you're messing with people, that's a red flag as fuck. If it's encompassing your life, it's a red flag, for sure. But if you're like me, I come up with like a bass riff or a guitar riff, and then I come up with like a little funny character to embody, and I make like a 40-second thing, and I upload it, and it doesn't encompass my life. People don't know about it unless they know about the channel. I don't think that it's that big of a deal. It's almost like a hobby. It makes me laugh. So I'm saying it doesn't matter. I'm not going to say it's kind of a good thing or a definite good thing. I wish that the demon that drives me to do this would be gone, because I've so far wasted 30 minutes identifying red flags for an audience of 0 people. So, quotes TikTok's IRL. That's like quoting memes. The One Piece. The One Piece is real. It doesn't matter. Like, if that's a problem, it's Morbin time. ROTC. Doesn't matter. Disrespects animals. That's bad. That's bad. Can you scroll me up, please? This list is so big. That's real bad. Straight black coffee. I'm one of these MFers, okay? And you might be like, straight black coffee, that's weird. It's so bitter. It's so gross. But how many calories are in a straight black coffee? Like 10 versus how many calories are in one with 2 creams and 2 sugars? A lot more. A lot more fat, and especially the sugar in particular. The sugar in coffee is delicious. It is delicious. But it's not good for you. I think that if you're like, whenever you go into a coffee shop, you're like, I want a black coffee, then you're a little messed up. If I go to a coffee shop, I get, to be honest, I get one of the whatever fancy drinks they're shilling that are a little bit more expensive, like an almond butter latte. I'll buy the almond butter latte. If I'm going to get coffee, I'm treating myself. But if I'm at home making my own coffee, I'm just doing straight black coffee or black coffee with a little bit of milk. So I'm going to say a good thing. Subpar hygiene, non-starter. That's bad. That's real bad for me. Just be clean, dude. Nicknames like Bay. It's not a big deal at all. I don't like. I'm not a lover of nicknames. Bay, Honey Boo, Sugar Tits. I don't deal with any of those. I don't send them out or get them back, but I don't mind them. Always talking about exes. Now, we talked about calling exes crazy is not that big of a deal. Always talking about exes, though, that's questionable. It's, I'd say that that's bad but manageable. Not worse than not awful. Because why? And it makes me wonder why. Anime fanatic. Thirsting for anime characters, I know I said wasn't that bad, but being an anime like fanatic, say not a big deal. Not awful. Personally, I don't watch any. I've watched all of it. Neon Genesis Evangelion. I've watched all through Stone Ocean of JoJo's. I've seen a lot of the classic anime movies, but like to be a fanatic, that takes like what, all of your life? That's like 8 hours a day. Ain't nobody got time for that. Pepsi. Coke and Pepsi. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm a Coke guy, personally. Favorite holiday, Christmas. Favorite holiday, Halloween. Those are just reasonable takes. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Natural color hair dye. Doesn't matter. Unnatural color hair dye. Who cares? Parents track their location. Now, that is not the fault of the person who, the subject of the conversation here. I grew up such a nerd, and my parents tracked my location. I didn't do anything wrong, and they tracked my location. I get in trouble for things that I didn't even do. So, like, it's obviously not a good thing, but it's not, it doesn't matter. Gold digger. Well, I mean, if someone's a gold digger, you know what you're getting into from the outset, right? Like, if you know that they're in it for the money, then they're in it for the money. And it doesn't matter. And to be fair, if I were a woman, life would be harder for me. Like I would have likely been able to have the same academic success, but I don't know if I would have been able to easily convert it into professional success afterwards. Like yeah, I'm completely unsure about that. One way that I know that I would have been able to if I was able to keep good looks after switching genders is I would probably be a little bit of a gold digger myself. It's just a way to secure a good financial future for yourself and maybe for your offspring in the future. And I don't see that much of a big deal. Believes astrology. That would piss me off. Piss me off. I'm gonna put that in bad but manageable. The believing astrology. Personally, for me, it would be a non-starter. But yeah, believes rock or crystals have powers. Have you met any people who have those? They have the bracelets. There's the bracelets with like the little metal circle in the center of them. Like what was it? Negative ions or something. And like you can, if you use them, you balance. Like you can like balance better, and it like resets your. I can't remember what they are. Whenever I see someone wearing one of those, yeah, one of those bands where it's like the $5 thing that's just like, hey, look, I'm gullible. I definitely judge you. And if we're talking about a relationship red flag, that's going to be a definite non-starter for me, personally. But I'm not going to put it in that same. I'm not going to put it in that same category. I'm going to put it in bad but manageable. You know, right around where Dream SMP fan is. And smoking. Uh, religious. As someone who's not, I grew up Catholic, going to church. I went to a Catholic high school, and I'm not exactly religious now. I did a Ten Commandments tier list for God's sake, where I put I'm Lord your God in F tier. So I myself am not religious, but I have no problem with people who are religious, up to a point, obviously. If we're talking about craziness, then that's just religious is too blanket of a statement. Like if someone's just like Jesus is my truth, it's like it's a guiding principle that they can live their life by. And not only that, but the general tenets of a lot of Christian religions are positive. You know, like loving your neighbor and shit like that. So I don't think it's that. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. Vans. I used to wear Vans, and then I got like a pair of Nikes, like got some J's, and I was like, this is how shoes can feel. Like Vans have just like a cardboard shit bottom. Like it's like when you're on like a bike that has no shocks, and you're just like dying, like you lose your ball sack, and the seat kind of goes into you a little bit, if you know what I mean, like that. Then you try like a nice padded seat with nice like shocks that work. It changes your life. So I'm not gonna put Vans in not awful. Like I'm not crazy. If someone wears Vans, they have a sneaker or shoe collection. I don't mind. Sneaker collection definitely hit a point where it's not awful. But like, yeah, what are we talking about when we say sneaker or shoe collection? Like I've every woman's closet I've ever looked at has like 30 pairs of shoes, but that's all of them. They all have that, and I don't have anywhere near that. But like if we're talking about like a guy who has like a wall of like 10 different Air Jordan 1s, like 5 different, like you know what I'm getting at. If that's the case, then maybe I'll move the needle a little bit. Vegan? This might be a little questionable. As someone who still eats meat regularly, like every day, I actually think being vegan's a good thing. Kind of a good thing. I might even put it in definite good thing. I'll have to think about it. Once again, you can reach with vegans. You can go to the point where it's weird. But personally, I eat meat all the time, and almost every time I eat meat, I think to myself, this is the kind of thing that in 20 years we're probably not going to be doing anymore if we get the technology for like simulated meat, impossible meat, brain fart, fast enough, where it's like we in the future we might not have to be killing a cow for this. You just be yeah, you're paying for that experience when for the same money you could be getting pea protein that still tastes good and doesn't hurt anything. Someone who's willing to take that leap now, they have to deal with all of the shortcomings that come from avoiding meat in their diet. Like I struggle to eat enough protein per day to like keep up my muscle mass. I can't imagine what it would be like if I couldn't eat like a chicken breast on some rice, or something like that. Like I definitely respect vegans for the decision that they made. If they did it because they wanted to, I'm probably going to actually put it into definite good thing. It's a moral that I wish that I could hold myself to. Addicted to gym. So I've known some people who were addicted to the gym, like in high school. They after well, I know it sounds crazy in high school, but I'm a nerd. I don't have too many friends who are addicted to the gym. After school, they'd go to the gym for like 2 hours a day, and it becomes all that they talk about a lot too, like lifts and gains and stuff. I remember before deleting Facebook, seeing like people arguing about whether or not this person's natty or that person's natty, and it's just like this is what you're choosing to value in your life. Like every day that passes is a day closer to your death, and you're like, people sometimes tell me that I'm not natty, but let me tell you, I'm natty all the way. I'm gonna say, if it's addicted, there's a bit difference between addiction. Yeah, like they use the word addicted here, which seems intended. Because it's addiction, I'm putting it in not awful. I'm sorry about this gigantic doesn't really matter section. We've got every sports fan, player, every video game type, as if, I guess when they were making this list, they're just like, we got to give the younger people something to look at too. Stuffed animals. What do you, how many stuffed animals? I have a couple stuffed animals. I bought a platypus from the World Wildlife Fund or whatever it's called. It was like $75, and the money went to protecting animals. I've got a Slimesicle plushie somewhere. I've got from Slay the Spire. I have like a Lagavulin plushie. I've got, I mean, but that's like five, and they're scattered throughout my apartment. I don't think it's a problem at all. I'm not gonna go as far as to say like, oh, it's a good thing, but no. These are more interesting now. I can't believe that it put me through Xbox Gamer and left like weed till near the end. Instead, I can talk about these, if forced to. But I'm gonna put alcohol and not awful. It's a normal thing that people partake in. Obviously, if it's alcoholic, that changes the ranking entirely. But in the end, as time has gone on, and as your body ages, you can handle alcohol less and less. I'd say it feels more like it's more like poison to me now. It's a clear not good. But if we're talking about going out to dinner, going to a bar, ordering even two beers, like two mugs at your trivia night, which I sometimes do, I don't. That's not that big of a red flag to me. Definitely shouldn't be a hobby, something like that. Now this little guy. I'm gonna put it in. I think I'm gonna put it in. Doesn't really matter. If you put it in not kind of a good thing or definite good thing, you're kind of crazy. Probably. Unless like you're like, I need someone in my life who also I smoke so much weed. If the person I'm with doesn't also, that's a non-starter. I think I've got to keep it. Gotta keep it in. Doesn't really matter. I fall on the side of it. It doesn't like it probably has some negative impacts if used constantly over a ton of time. It might impact you mentally in some ways because it makes you sleepier, a little bit less motivated. But it's just like a thing that you occasionally do. I don't see a problem with it at all, to be honest. Foot fetish. I was thinking about Quentin Tarantino the other day, and he was like he's been raked over the coals for like what was it? The vampire killing movie. From Dusk Till Dawn, and from Dusk Till Dawn, which he is the director of, or like a co-director of. He specifically has a scene where like Salma Hayek does like a dance with a big snake. Sorry, let me. There we go. That's a little bit better. Salma Hayek does a big dance with a snake on, then she pours a tequila shot down her body, and then it like drips off her leg and off her like bare foot into Quentin Tarantino's mouth. And like he got judged so hard for that. But at the same time, it's just like, you know, it is Selma Hayek. Like we got, maybe you can draw a line somewhere, right? If we're talking Selma Hayek, like Penelope Cruz, someone like that, it's just like that's damn reasonable. Personally, I think it's reasonable. Also, there is a lot of normal people who have foot fetishes. You know, famously, Bob Odenkirk got caught with following a no. What happened to the Zoom? Oh no! It's even less manageable now. Desktop site. Save me. Save me. Save me. It didn't save me. Oh, shoot. Oh, it did. Okay. Bob Odenkirk, yeah, recently got found out to be, like, following foot fetish websites, but, like, who cares? I don't imagine that would impact your life too much. I'm gonna put it in doesn't matter. I could see why someone would put it further up, like, if they're icked out by it, but I don't get it personally. At all, to be honest. But it's, I don't know, it seems like we're in an age where that's a little bit normalized, right? I'm not going to just outright yuck your yum. Dirty, white Air Force Ones. Isn't that the whole thing with Air Force Ones? Like, they look best when they're clean, but like when they're a little bit dirty, that's just kind of how they are. All right, do I have some white Air Force Ones with some dirt on them? They're not very dirty. I wipe them off, but some of it's hard to get out, okay? It's not easy to scrub it off. All black Air Force Ones. Now that, on the other hand, if you don't know about this, dirty white Air Force Ones, completely reasonable. That's just called having white shoes. All black Air Force Ones, get them away from me. That's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker for me. If you don't know what all black Air Force Ones are, that means that the activities that they also partake in are also all black. If you know what I mean. That's not a. There's no double entendre. No, there is a double entendre there, but it's not racial. To be clear, it's not a racial thing. So yeah, right here right by communication issues, completely fair deal breaker, right? Guilt tripping, chunky feelers, chunky feelers, chunky feelers. Oh, those are shoes. Big, kind of ugly shoes. Okay. But they look like they might be comfy. What are the price of chunky feelers? Fila. Chunky sneakers and dad sneakers. Going by the branding dad sneakers, they're $80. That's not bad for a shoe, especially one that's comfortable. I don't have a problem with that at all. Wait, let me look at that again. I might even put that in kind of good. Like I don't believe in the look, but I know that we're in like the ugly shoe era right now, right? Like you got people going out wearing Crocs thinking that they're actually cool. Like, okay. You know what, these can look pretty goofy. Cuz like they start pretty chunky. You know, like these chunky feelers, they're a shoe. They're just like, imagine like a white sneaker. They come in a bunch of different colors, but they've got a big sole. But the sole can be freaking huge. The Fila Disruptor 2, like that looks goofy. Yeah, I think that's a cheap shoe. I don't know anything about it. I'd love for this to like show up in a preview, and someone be like, "You don't even know that chunky Filas represent women who." That would be really amusing to me. So I'm going to put it in kind of a good thing because they look decent, they look comfortable, and they're cheap. $80. I know that's not the cheapest shoe, but if we're talking about like shoes with enough of a brand to make a list like this, that's good for me. Always wearing a hat or beanie. I haven't. I used to like growing up in Midwestern, the suburbs of Chicago. Growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, are a lot of hat and beanie people, like permanent hat and beanie people. I don't see that as a red flag personally. It's not a decision that I make myself. And I don't see myself going permanent hat or beanie, but I don't mind it. Like you can add a lot of personality to your look by wearing a hat. I consider wearing them for stuff like this too because I've got some silly ones. Um, and beanies, if you got a stylish beanie, it can also add to your look as well. Yeah, always wearing one, like yeah, wearing one inside for like a dinner. Yeah, you bring over your boyfriend to meet your parents, and he's wearing his Gengar hat or something like that. You'd be like, you just want to take that off. But in general, it's not that big of a deal. If they're always wearing like a leather newsboy cap, well, that's not what it says. But if it did, that'd be a red flag for me. Posting to story while leaving you undelivered. Posting to story while leaving you undelivered. Oh, okay. So that would be like Instagram, like posting an Instagram story when you sent a message and they didn't respond. I talk. If this is why this tier list is kind of immediately broken. I've been talking for 50 minutes straight. I'm not stopping. I can keep going. I expect to be left on red a little bit. I definitely do. Posting to a story depends on what I'm talking about and what I sense about it. If it's important and you're posting stories, that changes it. But if it's just me talking, like doing an Anthony thing, just like I personally think that Toy Story 2 was more enjoyable than Toy Story 3. The storytelling of it is good. I love the you don't need to respond to that before being like, hey, I'm having coffee with friends. Check it out. Like that's clearly more important. So this is a situation where I need a little bit more detail. I'm gonna put it in not awful, but mullet info. Are they Australian? If you are Australian, you have mullet permission. If you are American and you have a mullet, I've got to say that's kind of that's kind of a problem. It's not a like someone's got to tell you and you've got to listen that you shouldn't have it. I'm gonna put it in a not awful. Like you shouldn't just completely dismiss someone because they have a mullet. But like I opened this with the guy. He's a nice guy, a smart guy, and he's not a bad looking guy who he wears sometimes when it's hot outside and he wants to wear a polo, he wears a polo with basketball shorts. That's kind of like what this mullet is for me. Where it's like brother, you can't do that. You can't wear a polo shirt and basketball shorts. And he's like, it's fine. It's like, no, you can't. At some point I'm hoping that someone will be like, dude, stop. Like a girl, I suppose she wouldn't say, dude, she'd say bruh. She'd be like, bruh, stop wearing that polo shirt, okay? With the basketball shorts. Wear a t-shirt and basketball shorts. Or wear the basketball shorts and some, like, at least some fucking Dockers. Like, come on. Bowl cuts. Bowl cuts. I know bowl cut. Bowl cut. Oh, that's the same. Well, okay. For the bowl cut. It's kind of like a bowl cut. It's the same kind of style. I think it depends on what they look like, right? Are you a K-pop star? Then I'd say that it doesn't matter at all if you're a K-pop. Are you a soccer player in Europe? Probably doesn't matter. If you are from Central or South America, I imagine that that's a lot more common. If it was me with a bowl cut, that's a problem. I would look ridiculous, personally. So I can't comment on the bowl cut. I know I can comment on the mullet. The bowl cut's definitely likely questionable, but I think that there are situations where it fits. The mullet, you have to be Australian. That's the law, okay? And you can't, or you're in a movie, or an actor in a TV show. Bowl cut, on the other hand, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. Middle hair part, isn't that like what the world is like now? Middle hair parts are a thing. Who cares? Like, you're gonna have a problem with middle hair? If there was an option here for people who have problems with middle hair parts, that would be on the list, right? I'd move that up. But that Doesn't matter. Rock metal or alternative fan. Well, I can't put this as a bad thing because, like, what do you think most of that shit is? It, like, but if we're talking like somebody who just has been listening to the same Disturbed album for 5 years, that's a problem. I'm gonna put it. No, doesn't matter. Rap fan doesn't matter. Pop music fan doesn't matter. Country music fan doesn't matter. Bad at driving. Now that's a little frustrating. It's not awful. And I don't want to comment too much about this. I don't want to put myself in hot water. But I'm going to put bad at driving is not awful. Anger issues. No, that's not the worst. It's not the worst. But anger issues is pretty bad. Like if I'm going to be in a relationship with someone, I want I'm gonna put bad but manageable. It's almost a non-starter for me. If someone has anger issues, I don't know. You're sometimes you're going to be in situations where you're going to worry about if they're going to act up about something. You might change how you behave in the relationship because of it, and I think that in itself is definitely puts it in the non-starter area. I didn't move it all the way up, but who cares about this tier list? Do you see how much shit's on this thing? Uggs. You're a 27. Are they still making new Uggs? Uggs. Uggs. Or is it just the same? I mean, they look the same. Who cares? What was I gonna? I'm gonna like pretend like I hate Uggs or something like that. Gaslighting. And salt and vinegar chips. I'm gonna put salt and vinegar chips as a definite good thing. Salt and vinegar chips slap. And if you don't like salt and vinegar chips, that's another one. If they had an option for does not like salt and vinegar chips, that would definitely give me a little bit of the ick. Because you're crazy. Gaslighting goes way up though. I've seen the original Gaslighting movie from the 1940s, where it all came from. So let's just take a little peek at some of the worst stuff, review some of the best. I should. Sorry about the flashbang. I guess that's going to be my thumbnail. You can see I put a lot of care and effort into all this. Attraction to serial killers, that's a big problem, right? To be like you see, this is a stolen joke, but you see like Ted Bundy or whatever. It's just like a bunch of women talk about like how they couldn't handle themselves around them, like the masculine energy, and he was so hot. And then you see pictures of him, and he's just looking crazy and hideous. It's really funny. Sex addict, communication issues, personal problem for me. If you got communication issues, the relationship's just never gonna work. And that's, if you cheated in the past, you're gonna cheat on me again. If you're a guilt tripper, I mean, that would just make me mad. I don't know what else it is. Hiding the relationship. I'm a good guy. I'm a stand-up guy. I don't have any attributes about me that I think that you'd want to hide. If you're hiding the relationship, that's a deal breaker. If you don't respect boundaries, that's going to become a problem. But at some point down the line, I'm not going to be able to trust you with some things. That's an issue. If trust is an issue, that's a major issue. Doesn't like when you're with friends. I'm not one who's dedicated to the boys, but like, why? Why? Oh, I hate when you're with your friends, playing Switch Sports, having a laugh, playing some tennis, ordering some Dominoes, and splitting a case of Rolling Rock as part of the weekend. Like that would be worse. But even then, it's just like really, like, constantly puts you down. Later on, I mentioned Like it constantly makes you feel dumb, but constantly putting you down, that's a non-starter for me as well. Somebody who just says I don't care to everything, they can fuck off. Disrespects animals, same thing. Subpar hygiene, that's a problem for me. Because I mean, if you have subpar hygiene, I'm gonna be telling you, hey, you should shower. Hey, when are you gonna take a shower? Hey, you're smelly. When's that shower coming? Hey, here's some products from the store that I find helpful. Soap, even this 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner, and that's about it. Oh, a little bit of deodorant here. Like, here's a good deodorant that I trust. And if that doesn't work, then yeah, that's a no right there. All black Air Force Ones, you know why. Gaslighting, that's a big problem. Dream SMP fan, no way. No way am I going to be with a Dream SMP fan. Okay? Smoking, you can get over it, right? It's if everything else is she's a 10 but she smokes, that's fine. It's crippling financially and from a health standpoint, but millions and millions of people do, right? If you want to have a sexy European girlfriend, that's probably something that you're going to have to suffer through, right? Pick me, boys or girls. The whole thing where you're putting down your own gender to try to engender, is that the word? Yourself with the other gender. It's not for me. That's bad. In and out of relationships. If you're in and out of relationships, that means you're going to be in and out of our relationship. Comprehension issues. I talk. I say I make connections. I talk about a wide, disparate range of things. I will send messages about things that I need or things that we need, and if you can't understand what I mean right there, and like it'll grind life to a halt, and that'll be a big problem. I think holds you to a double standard. That would piss me off. Very secretive. Why? Why? Won't try out your hobbies. That's questionable. Like if there's a hobby that I think that would be good to try out as a couple, then I think that would be reasonable. Like a lot of them are simple. You're not going to go to a movie theater with me, but even if it's something like mini golf, like oh I like mini golfing or I like bowling. I'm not going to bowl. I'm not going to mini golf. That's also problematic for me too. No motivation in life. We're going to be on here on this earth for many years, many years. And if you're with someone who's an adult and you're like, what are you thinking about doing? And like in the next 10 years, like what would you like to do? No, I don't fucking know. I don't really care. That's kind of a deal breaker for me because I don't know what I'm going to be getting out of our relationship at that point. Then always talking about exes. Another one. Why are you always talking about exes? If you're always talking about them, I know that you're always thinking about them too, and that would definitely give me pause. Believing astrology? That's a hell no, dude. That's a gullible, like just like believes in rock or crystals. That's just a I'm a gullible person stamp right on your forehead. And anger issues. I should probably move to deal breaker. But I know a number of people with anger issues that I like, and I can get a little mad myself. No double standards from me. And then let's look at kind of a good thing and definite good thing. Not very many here. I think being a cheerleader is kind of a good thing. It's an athletic sport. It's a team sport. It takes a lot of work and effort and guts. You go to competitions. It's a serious thing. Lord of the Rings fan? Like we were talking about different things you could be a fan of. I think Lord of the Rings it's good books, good movies. It's pretty cerebral. It's something that I'd be able to share with, and I could rewatch those movies whenever. They're good enough for it. Like Star Wars fan, you get locked into watching Solo for the 5th time. I'm gonna bash my head into a wall. But Lord of the Rings is different. Straight black coffee. You don't need all that cream. You don't need all that sugar. Okay? Chunky Feelers. Those were $80 shoes. Yeah, you might be like, oh, they're a little ugly. They're not that ugly, right? If you're like, oh, those are ugly, but normal, like, you can handle like a New Balance. And you could probably think New Balances are ugly then too. But to me, they looked kind of cool. They looked really comfy, and they were $80 a pair. Like that's great. Those are great shoes. I know that we've got On Clouds are popular. Those are a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more. And when I see them, I think you must be like a 50-year-old shopping in a grocery store or something. Definite good things I have. Hot chips and spicy food, because I like them. Band kid, because you had to wake up early before school every day. You learned something that you didn't need to learn. You learned how to play an instrument. It was an extracurricular activity. You had so much time that you got to spend with other people who your age, your peers, when you were growing up, where I'm sure that you have life experiences that you're never going to forget about. And you learn how to deal with people in the same way that you wouldn't if you were just sitting at home watching anime because you're an anime fanatic, which you put in kind of a problem. Like it's a, it's different. I know that band kids could be a little weird when you're growing up, but it doesn't necessarily. If you see me at a 28-year-old, you're not gonna be like, you were definitely a band kid. You still act like a band kid. I haven't seen that. I put vegan in definite good thing because it's a value that I strive to have in myself. I know that I could, but I don't. I struggle to eat too much protein. I'm going to be making excuses for myself, and I also just love how meat tastes. So it's not happening anytime soon for me. And salt and vinegar chips are bomb, and if you don't like them, you're crazy. So that's all for me. I had actually a pretty good time doing this tier list. There's a lot more on here than I thought it would be, but I got through it pretty quick. If you did watch all the way to the end, uh, or you're at this point, please comment which things you disagree with me most on. I'd be curious to hear. I'm gonna probably continue to do tier lists whenever I have free time because it's much more fun than existing anywhere else. I get to talk to the person who I'm most familiar with in all the world, me. So I hope that you all have a great day. You deserve it, and I'll see you next time.